was still testing it. Pardon. This may be a scene transition a little too fast. Morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen, my heirs. It's been a very, very long week, hasn't it? There's enough life as it is. There's enough sadness as it is. So how about we relax, sit down, tuck in, and let's enjoy the start of this weekend. There's no need for any participation, no need for mind, no need for things. We're here to just let go of every second of stress just before we have fun in our weekends. We had a little bit of fun ourselves. The times like these, just me and you, reminds me of this small encounter that I had before. I remember the first time ever that I finally found somewhere home. It was a hotel lobby that I always visit. It is a quiet, yet eventful place. There, I saw this elderly couple that every time that I've been there, they're always in the same place, the same newspapers, same topic. Nothing can change them. Nothing seems to change for them. Their love is like a forever uncorrosible heart to never melt. There was an alone time. Watching them is like a light at the end of the tunnel. I never thought true feeling can last that long. But then, one day, the elderly couple didn't show up. I was scared. I was disappointed. Not for them, but for myself. I was so scared. But then, the old man showed up one day with a ripe rose in her hand. And all I can hear from him chanting to himself is, I will never let you go. Sweet dreams. I'm coming in. That was the last time I ever saw of any of this old couple. If only love can stay as long as it is. But if there's a will, there's a way. I believe that as long as I have you and you have me. Nothing can change it. That also reminds me of this one short story that I heard before. It was a so-called scary story. But then, when I looked back, I saw nothing but regrets, reminiscence, and love. The story goes like this. Whatever hour you woke, there was a door shutting. From room to room they went, hand in hand, lifting here, opening there, making sure a ghostly couple. Here I left it, she said. And he added, oh, but here too. It's upstairs, she murmured. And in the garden, he whispered. Quickly, they said, or we shall wake them. But it wasn't that you woke us. No. You're looking for it. They're drawing a curtain. One might say, and so read on a page or two. Now they have found it. One will be certain. Stopping the pencil on the margin. And then, tired of reading, one might rise and see for oneself. The hours all empty, the doors standing open, only the wood pigeons bubbling with content, and the hum of the threshing machine sounding from the farm. What did I come in for? What did I want to find? My hands were empty. Perhaps it's upstairs then. The apple were in the loft, and so down again, the garden still as ever, only the book have slipped into the grass. But I have found it in the drawing room. Not that one could ever see them. The window pane reflected apples, reflected roses. All the leaves were green in the glass. If they moved in the drawing room, the apple only turns its yellow side. Yet, the moment after, if the door was open, spread about the floor, hung upon the walls, pendant from the ceiling. What? My hands were empty. The shadow of thrust crossed the carpet. From the deepest wells of silence, the wood pigeon drew its bubble of sound. Safe, safe, safe by me. The pulse of the house beat softly. The treasure buried. The room, the pulses stopped short. Was that the buried treasure? A moment later, the light had faded. Out in the garden then. But the trees sprung darkness from the wandering beam of sun. So fine, so rare, coolly sunk beneath the surface, the beams I sought always burnt behind the glass. Death was the glass. Death was between us, coming to the woman first, hundreds of years ago, leaving the house, sealing all the windows, The rooms were darkened. You left it. Left her. Went north. Went east. Saw the stars turn in the certain sky. Sought the house. Found it beneath the downs. Safe. 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 For me. The pulse of the house beat gladly. The treasure is you. The wind roars up the avenue. Trees stoop and bend this way and that. Moonbeams splash and spilled widely in the rain. But the beams of the lamp fall straight from the window. The candles burn stiff and still. Wandering through the house, burning the windows, whispering not to wake us. The ghostly couple seek their joy. Here we slept, she says. And he added, kisses without number. Waking up in the morning, silver between the trees. Upstairs, in the garden, when the summer came, in winter snow time, the door goes shutting far in the distance, gently knocking like the pulse of a heart. Nearer they come, seize at the doorway. The wind falls, the rain slides silver down the glass. Our eyes darken. We hear no steps beside us. We see no lady spread her ghostly cloak. His hands shield the lantern. Look, she breathes. Sound asleep. Love upon their lips. Stooping, holding their silver lamp above us, long they look, and deeply. Long they pause. The wind drives straightly. The flames stoop slightly. The white beams of moonlight cross both floor and wall, and meeting, the stain, the faces bent, the faces pondering, the faces that search the sleeper and seek their hidden joy. Safe, safe, safe for me. The heart of the house beats proudly. Long years, he signs. Again, you found me. Here, she murmurs, sleeping in the garden, reading, laughing, rolling apples in the loft. Here we left our treasure, stooping, the light lifts the lids upon my eyes. Safe, safe, safe at last. The pulse of the house beats wildly. Waking, I cry. Oh, is this your treasure? The light and the heart. The end. Now we both will understand that a haunted house doesn't really have to be what it has to mean on the surface level. The story tells just like you and me, or at least what could have been the old couple. It was a story of a long past couple looking back, treading on the old times in the old place of where they were before. Some say that they are regretful. Some say that they're simply happy. But I say, if we could be together at the time of the afterlife, then this life will forever be worth it. Funny how that goes. It was always a weird sight to see. But then again, does it really matter? Simple. I love you. Might just be enough. How is it that life can be so cruel? It's going to be one day, far from now, that we're going to look back and realize how much regretful things that we have done, that we haven't done. All I wanted to say is, the time is now. And if you wanted to, tomorrow will be the time that starts. Now, there was another story that I'll think of. But then, it's like the heavens feel the touch of the afterlife. It is long and unknown. A story about one's past, or at least one's future. The name of the story is The 5 People You Meet in Heaven. Now, just don't worry about anything other than closing your eyes and letting go. I'll be reading through this with you as long as you are sound asleep. There's no time and now to rest. This is a story about a man named Eddie, and it begins at the end, with Eddie dying in the sun. It might seem strange to start a story with an end, but all endings are also beginnings. We just don't know it at that time. The last hours of Eddie's life were spent, like most of the others, at Ruby Pier, an amusement park by the great gray ocean. The park had usual attractions: a boardwalk, a Ferris wheel, roller coasters, bumper cars, a taffy stand, and an arcade where you could shoot streams of the water into the clown's mouth. It also had a big new ride called Freddy's Freefall. This would be where Eddie would be killed in an accident that would be on the front line of the newspaper around the state. Before I continue, if anyone's still around, I will be continuing the story the next time we have an ASMR story time. As the 5 people that you meet in heaven is a lot more than just the 5 people that you only meet every day. That is something that you treasure, something that you cherish. As I firmly believe, maybe one day in the afterlife, there will be 5 important people around us that we'll meet again. As that's finished, let's carry on, shall we? At the time of his death, Eddie was a squat, white-haired old man with a short neck, a barreled chest, thick forearm, and a faded army tattoo on his right shoulder. His legs were thin and vain now, and his left knee, wounded in a war, was ruined by arthritis. He used a cane to get around. His face was broad and craggy from the sun, with salty whiskers and lower jaw that protruded slightly, making him look prouder than he felt. He kept a cigarette behind his left ear and a ring of keys hooked on his belt. He wore the rubber-soled shoes and an old linen cap. His pale brown uniform suggested a working man, and a working man he was. Eddie's job was maintaining the rides, which really meant keeping them safe. Every afternoon he walked the park, checking on each attraction, from the tilt-a-whirl to the pipeline plunge. He looked down for broken boards, loose bolts, worn out steel. Sometimes he would stop, his eyes glazing over. His people walking past thought something was wrong. But he was listening, that's all. After all these years, he could bear trouble. He said in the spits and stutters and thrumming of the equipment. With 15 minutes left on Earth, Eddie took his last walk along Ruby Pier. He passed an elderly couple. "Folks," he mumbled, touching his caps. He nodded politely. Customers knew Eddie. At least the regular ones did. They saw him summer after summer. One of those faces you associate with a place. His work shirt had a patch on the chest that read Eddie above the word maintenance. And sometimes it would say, "Hiya, Eddie Maintenance." Although he never thought that was funny. Today, it so happened, was Eddie's birthday. He's 83rd. A doctor last week had told him that he had shingles. Shingles? Eddie didn't know what they were. Once, he had been strong enough to lift a carousel horse in each arm. That was a long time ago. "Eddie, take me. Eddie, take me." For a minute until his death, Eddie made his way to the front of the roller coaster line. He rode every attraction at least once a week to be certain the brakes and steering were solid. Today was coaster day. The coaster of coaster. They call this one. And the kids who knew Eddie yelled to get in the car with him. Children liked Eddie, not teenagers. Teenagers gave him headaches. Over the years, Eddie figured out that he had seen every sort of do-nothing, snarled at them. Teenagers, they were worse. But children were different. Children looked at Eddie, who, with his protruding lower jaw, always seems to be grinning, like a dolphin. And they trust him. They drew in like cold hands to a fire. They hugged his leg. They played him with his keys. Eddie mostly grunted, never saying much. You figured it was just because he didn't say much that they liked him. Now, a total digression. If I ever to live long enough to ever look or ever be like Eddie, I will forever be happy about that. Because that means I've lived a very, very long life. And I wish all of you, I wish you the same. Back. Now, Eddie tapped two little boys with backwards baseball caps. They raced to the car and tumbled in. Eddie handed his cane to the ride attendant and slowly lowered himself between the two. Here we go. Here we go. One boy squealed as the other pulled Eddie's arm around his shoulder. Eddie lowered the lap bar and clack, 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 up they went. The story went around about Eddie. When he was a boy growing up by this very same pier, he got in an alley fight. 5 kids from Picton Avenue had cornered his brother, Joe, and was about to give him a beating. Eddie was a block away, on a stoop, eating a sandwich. He heard his brother scream. He ran to the alley, grabbed the garbage can lid, and sent the 2 boys to the hospital. After that, Joe didn't talk to him for months. He was ashamed. Joe was the oldest, the firstborn, but it was Eddie who took the fighting. Can we go again, Eddie? Please. 34 minutes to live. Eddie left the lap band, gave each boy a sucking candy, retrieved his cane, then limped to the maintenance shop to cool down from the summer heat. Had he known his death was imminent, he might have gone somewhere else. Instead, he did what we all do. He went about his stalled routine as if all the days in the world were still to come. Little did he know, that was far, far from the truth. One of the shop workers, a lengthy-cheeked young man named Dominguez, was by the solvent sink, wiping grease off the wheel. Yo, Eddie, he said. Dom, Eddie said. The shop smelled like sawdust. It was dark and cramped, with a low ceiling and pegboard walls that held drills and saws hammers. Skeleton parts of fun park rides were everywhere. Compressors, engines, belt, light bulbs, the top of the pirate's head, stacked against one wall were coffee cans with nails and screws. And stacked against another wall were endless top of grease. Reading a track, Eddie would say, required no more brains than washing a dish. The only difference was you got dirtier as you did it, not cleaner. And that was the sort of work that Eddie did. Spread a crease, adjust brakes, tighten bolts, checked electrical panels. Many times he had longed to leave this place, find different works, build another kind of life. But the war came. His plans were never worked out. In time, he found himself graying and wearing looser pants and in a state of weary acceptance. That this was who he was and who he would always be. A man with sand in his shoes in a world of mechanical laughter and grilled frankfurters. Like his father before him, like the patch on a shirt. Eddie was maintenance, the head of maintenance, or as the kids sometimes call him, the right man at Ruby's beard. Now, do pardon me as I would be needing for a lavatory break for now, so please stay comfortable, relax, and don't think of anything that's happened before. Because we're here to have fun, and we're here to rest. I'll be back in no time. Pardon for the short break. I am back. Stay where you are. The story has just started. Now, 30 minutes left. Hey, happy birthday, I heard, Dominguez said. Eddie grunted. No party or nothing? Eddie looked at him as if he was crazy. For a moment, he thought how strange it was to be growing old in a place that smelled of cotton candy. Well, remember, Eddie, I'm off next week. Starting Monday. Going to Mexico. Eddie nodded, and Dominguez did a little dance. Me and Teresa gonna see the whole family. He stopped dancing when he noticed Eddie staring. You ever been? Dominguez asked. Been? To Mexico. Eddie exhaled through his nose. Kid, I've never been anywhere I wasn't shipped to with a rifle. He watched Dominguez return to the sink. He thought for a moment, then he took a small wad of bills from his pocket and removed the only 20s he had. 2 of them. He held them out. Get your wife something nice, Eddie said. Dominguez regarded the money, broke into a huge smile. and said, "Come on, man. You sure?" Eddie pushed the money into Dominguez's palm. Then he walked out to the storage area. The small fishing hold had been cut into boardwalk planks years ago. Eddie lifted to the plastic cap. He tucked on a nylon line that drops 80 feet to the sea. A piece of bologna was still attached. "We catch anything?" Dominguez yelled. "Tell me, we caught something." Eddie wondered how the guy could be so optimistic. There was nothing, never anything on that line. "One day," Dominguez yelled, "we're gonna get a haul." Boo. "Yep," Eddie mumbled. Although he knew he could never pull a fish that big through a hole that small. "26 minutes to lift." Eddie crossed the boardwalk to the south end. Business was slow. The girl behind the taffing counter was living on her elbow, popping her gum. Ruby Pier was the place to go in the summer. It had elephants and fireworks and marathon dance contests. But the people didn't go to Ocean's Piers much anymore. They went to theme parks where you paid $75 a ticket and had your photos taken with a giant furry character. Eddie limped past the bumper cars and fixed his eyes on a group of teenagers leaning over the railing. "Great," he told himself. "Just what I needed." "Off," Eddie said, tapping the railing with his crane. "Come on. It's not safe." The team glared at him. The car pulse sizzled with electricity. Zap, zap sounds. "It's not safe," Eddie repeated. The team looked at each other. One kid who wore a streak of orange in his hair sneered at Eddie and stepped onto the middle rail. "Come on, dudes. Hit me," he yelled, waving at the young driver. "Hit me." Eddie whacked the railing so hard with his cane that he almost snapped it in two. "Move it," he yelled. The teams ran away. Another story went around about Eddie. As a soldier, he had engaged in combat numerous times. He had been brave, even won a medal. But towards the end of his service, he got into a fight with one of his own men. That's how Eddie was wounded. No one knew what happened to the other guy. No one asked. With 19 minutes left on Earth, Eddie sat for the last minute in an all-aluminum beach chair. His short, muscled arm folded like a seal's flipper around his chest. His legs were red from the sun, and his left knee still showed scars. In truth, much of the Eddie's body suggested a survived encounter. His fingers were bent at an awkward angles thanks to numerous fractures from the sorted machinery. His nose has been broken several times in what he called saloon fights. His proudly jawed face might have been good-looking once, the way the prize fighter might have looked before he took too many punches. Now Eddie just looked tired. This was his regular spot on the Ruby Pier boardwalk, behind the Jackrabbit ride, which in the 1980s was the Thunderbolt. In the 1970s was the Steel Eel, and when it was in 1960, was the lollipop swing. All the way back in 1950, was then called Laugh in the Dark, and which before there was the Stardust Bandshell, which was where Eddie and Margaret. Every live as one true love snapshot. For Eddie, it came on a warm September night after a thunderstorm, where the boardwalk was spongy with water. She wore a yellow cotton dress with a pink beret in his hair. Eddie didn't say much. He was so nervous he felt as his tongues were glued to his teeth. They danced to the music of a big band, long legs Delaney, and his Everglades Orchestra. He bought her a lemon fizz, and she said she had to go before her parents got angry. But as she walked away, she turned and waved. That was a snapshot. For the rest of his life, whenever he thought of Margaret, Eddie would see that very moment. Her waving over her shoulder, her dark hair falling over one eye, and he would feel the same arterial burst in love. That night, he came home and woke his older brother. He told him he met the girl he was going to marry. Go to sleep, Eddie, his brother groaned. A wave broke on the beach. Eddie coughed up something he did not want to see. He spat it away. He used to think a lot about Margaret. Not so much now. It was like a wound beneath an old bandage. He had grown more used to the bandage. What was the shingles? 16 minutes to live. No story sits by itself. Sometimes story meets in the corners, and sometimes they cover one another completely, like stones beneath a river. The end of Eddie's stories was touched by another seemingly innocent story. Months earlier, a cloudy night when a young man arrived at Ruby Pier with 3 of his friends. The young man whose name was Nicky had just begun driving and was still not comfortable carrying a keychain. So he removed the single car key to put it in his jacket pocket, then tied the jacket around his waist. For the next few hours, he and his friends rode all the fastest rides. The Flying Falcon, the Splashdown, the Freddy's Freefall, the Coaster Coaster. Hands in the air, one of them yells. He threw their hands in the air. Later, when it was dark, they returned to the cart lot, exhausted and laughing. Drinking beers from a brown paper bag, Nicky reached into his jacket pocket. He fished around. He cursed. The key was gone. "14 minutes until his death. Eddie wiped his brow with a handkerchief. Out on the seas, diamonds of sunlight danced on the water. And Eddie stared at their nimble movement. He had not been right on his feet since the war. Back at the Stardust Bandshells of Margaret, there Eddie had still been graceful. He closed his eyes and allowed himself to summer the song that brought them together. the only Judy Garland sang in that movie. It makes its head now of the cacophony of the crashing wave and the children screaming on the rides. You made me love you. Do it. I don't want to do. I can't express me to love you more times than you knew it, and all the times that you realized. Eddie felt her hands on his shoulder. He squeezed his eyes tightly to bring the memory closer. So close. Yet, so far. 12 minutes to live. Excuse me, a young girl says. Maybe 8 years old, maybe more, stood before him, blocking the sunlight. She had blonde curls and wore flip-flops and denim cut-off shorts and a lime green t-shirt with cartoon ducks on the front. Amy, he thought her name was. Amy, or Annie. She's been there a lot this summer, although Eddie never saw mother or father. Excuse me, she said again. Eddie maintenance? Eddie sighed. Just Eddie, he said. Eddie? Mm-hmm. Can you make me... She put her hands together as if praying. Come on, kiddo. I don't have all day. Can you make me an animal? Can you? Eddie looked up, as if he had to think about it, and he reached into his shirt pocket and pulled out 3 yellow pipe cleaners, which he carried for this purpose. Yes, the little girl said, slapping her hands. Eddie began twisting the pipe cleaners. Where's your parents? Riding the rides? Without you? The girl shrugged. My mom's with her boyfriend. Eddie looked up. Oh. He bent the pipe cleaners into several small loops and twisted the loops around one another. His hand shook now, so it took longer than it used to. But soon the pipe cleaner resembled an head, ears, body, and tail. A rabbit? The little girl said. Eddie winked. Thank you. She spun away, lost in the place where kids don't even know their feet are moving. Eddie wiped his brow again, then closed his eyes, slumped into the beach chair, and tried to get his old song back in his head. A seagull squawked as it flew overhead. How do people choose their final words? Do they realize their gravity? Or they fated to be wise? By his 83rd birthday, Eddie had lost nearly everyone he cared about. Son had died young, and son had been given the chance to grow old because of disease, or an accident took him away. At their funerals, Eddie listened as mourners recalled their final conversation. It's as if he knew me he was going to die, some would say. Eddie never believed that. As far as he could tell, when your time came, it came. And that was that. You might say something smart on your way out, but you might just as easily say something stupid. For the record, Eddie's final word would be, get back. Where are the sounds of Eddie's last minutes on Earth? Waves crashing, the distant thump of rock music, the whirring engines of a small biplane dragging an ad from his tail. And this. Oh my god! Look! Eddie felt his eyes start to beneath his lids. Over the years, he had come to know every noise at Ruby Pier and could sleep through them, all like a lullaby. This voice was not in a lullaby. Oh god, look! Eddie bolted upright. A woman with fat, dimpled arms were holding a shopping bag and pointing and screaming. A small crowd gathered around her, their eyes to the skies. Eddie saw it immediately. Atop Freddy's Freefall, the new tower drop attraction, one of the carts was tilted at an angle, as if trying to dump its cargo. 4 passengers, 2 men, 2 women, held only by the safety bar, were grabbing frantically at anything they could. Oh my god! The fat woman yelled. Those people! They're gonna fall! A voice squawked from the radio on Eddie's belt. Eddie? Eddie! He pressed the button. I see it. Get security. He ran out from the beach, pointing as if he had practiced his drill. Look, up in the sky. An amusement ride turned evil. Eddie grabbed his cane and clumped to the safety fence around the platform base, his wad of keys jangling against his hip. His heart was racing. Freddy's freefall was supposed to drop 2 cars in a stomach-churning descent, only to be halted in the last instant by the gush of hydraulic air. How did one car come close like that? It was tilted just a few feet below the upper platform, as if it had started downward and changed its mind. Eddie reached the gate and had to catch his breath. Dominguez came running and nearly banged into him. Listen to me, Eddie said, grabbing Dominguez by the shoulder. His grip was so tight. Dominguez made a pained face. Listen to me. Who's up there? Really? He answered. Okay. They must have hit the emergency stop. That's why the cart is hanging. Get up the ladder and tell Willie to manually release the safety restraint so that those people can get out, okay? It's on the back of the cart, so you're gonna have to hold them while he leans out there, okay? Then the two of yous now, not one, you got it? The 2 of yous get them out. One holds the other. Got it? Got it? Dominguez nodded quickly. And send the damn car down so we can figure out what happened. Eddie's head was pounding. Although his park had been freed of any major incident, anything fatal, he knew the horror stories of this business. Once in Brighton, the bolt unfastened on a gondola ride and 2 people fell to his death. Another time in Wonderland Park, a man had tried to walk across the roller coaster track. He fell through and got stuck between the armpits. He was rushed on, screaming. It came rushing towards him. Well, that was the worst. Eddie pushed that from his mind. There were people all around him now, hands over their mouth, watching the Dominguez climb the ladder. Eddie tried to remember the insides of Freddy's freefall. Engine, cylinder, hydraulic, seals, cables. How does a car come loose? He followed the ride visually, from the 4 frightened people at the top, down the towering shaft. In his base, engine, cylinder, hydraulic, seals, cables. Doesn't make sense. Nothing at all. The Mingus reached the upper platform. He did as Eddie told him, holding Willie as Willie leaned towards the back of the car to release the restraint. One of the female riders lunged for Willie and nearly pulled him off the platform. The crowd gasped. Wait, Eddie said to himself. Willie tried again. This time he stopped the safety release. Cable, Eddie mumbled. The bar lifted and the crowd went wild. The riders were quickly pulled to the platform. The cables were unraveling. And Eddie was right. Inside the base of Freddy Freefall, hidden from views, the cable that lift car number 2 had, for the last few months, been scraping across unlocked pulleys. Because it was locked, the pulley had gradually ripped the cable steel wires, as if husky an ear of corn, until they were nearly subverted. No one noticed. How could they notice? Only someone who had crawled inside a mechanism would have seen the unlikely cause of the problem. The pulley was wedged by a small object that must have fallen through the opening at the most precise moment. A car key. Pardon for the interruption. Don't release the cart, Eddie yelled. He waved his arm. Hey, it's the cable. Don't release the cart. It'll snap. The crowd drowned him out. It cheered wildly as Willie and the Mingus unloaded the final rider. All 4 were safe. They hugged atop the platform. Dom, Willie, Eddie yelled. Someone banged against his waist, knocking his walkie-talkie to the ground. Eddie bent to get it. Willie went to the controls. He put his finger on the green button. Eddie looked up. No, don't. Eddie turned to the crowd. Get back. Something in Eddie's voice must have caught the people's attention. They stopped cheering and began to scatter. An opening cleared around the bottom of Freddy's freefall. And Eddie saw the last face of his life. She was sprawled upon the right metal base, as if someone had knocked her into it. Her nose running. Tears filling her eyes. The little girl with the metal pipe cleaner animal. Amy? Annie? Mom? She heavied, almost rhythmically. Her body frozen in a paralysis of crying children. Mom, she yelled. Eddie's eyes shot from her to the carts. Does she have time? Her to the carts. Too late. The carts were dropping. Jesus, he released the brake, he thought. And for Eddie, everything slipped into a watery motion. He dropped his crane and pushed off his bad legs and felt a shot of pain that almost knocked him down. A big step, another step, inside the shaft of Freddy Freefall. The cable snapped in final thread and ripped across the hydraulic line. Cart number 2 was in the dead drop now. Nothing to stop it. A boulder off a cliff. In those final moments, Eddie seems to hear the whole world. Distant screaming, waves, musics, a rush of wind, a loud, ugly sound that he realized was his own voice blasting through his chest. The little girl raised her arms. Eddie lunged. Her bad leg buckled. He half flew, half stumbled towards her, landing on the middle platform, which ripped through her shirt and split open the skin. Just beneath that red eddy in maintenance, he felt the 2 hands in his own 2 small hands. A stunning impact. A blinding flash of light. And then nothing. And that was the beginning of the end. I have a feeling that half of you has already been asleep. And fantastic. This is only the beginning, of course, and we're going to be following through this for the following future channel, future few streams. But for now, we focus on now. As someone who is not entirely select on this type of things, please indulge me as I talk tucked in with you. Make some space. Finally, someone to be with. Last time I was ever be able to embrace others was never ago. And I'll cherish this moment, just like I'll cherish you, all of you. Thank you for this short, soothing session of story time before bed. Thanks everyone who stuck by. And I'll see you next time.